And it's episode 124 of RickCast. And you are here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everybody's having a good time. I know I'm slung back in my seat, but it's the most comfortable position I can be in my seat right now. So I think we're going to roll with it. And I hope everybody's had a wonderful weekend. Good evening to everybody. Dean, I hope you're doing well. Can't respond to you because for some reason StreamYard won't let me. But it is good to see you in the chat. Yeah, so another day here on this beautiful Monday, the 9th, I believe, of June 2025. And man, we are in the midst of summer. And as we have spoken about on this program in particular, that we are now in Summer of Love 2.0. You want to call it spicy season? I like that, Michael, as the bar rats are making their way into the crowd, into the building. And yeah, I think it's very interesting that it's right on time. It wasn't even that hard to predict that it would happen, and yet it is happening. So what are you going to do about it? Except buckle up. Hopefully, as we're seeing in the chat, people have friends and relatives and people who are being possibly sent in or dealing with stuff in LA. And yeah, it's a thing. It really is a thing. It's crazy how this is working right now. and how it is. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, ooh, what's that? The reason that's going on, that is my live stream on Instagram. Oh yeah, that's we're live on Instagram tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So we're ever expanding roster. So let's see. Bill Jasper is the new president of the John Birch Society. Have an interview with Bill Jasper. Awesome track Catholic voice, the battle for life and family. I'll talk to anybody. You see, the problem is not many people are willing to talk to me. So it is what it is. People are like, oh, you should get more guests for your show. I'd love to have guests for my show. This is kind of like a weird time in the day, 6 Central, 7 Eastern. It's dinner time also with the bigger shows are going on right now. So a lot of people want to stick with them, and that's fine. I hold no ill will towards anybody if they don't feel like coming on or feel like being here. So it is what it is. But if I would I speak to him, I absolutely would. So let's see here. What do we got? Well, we're going to talk about these riots that are taking place and that are happening right now. You can get that stuff pretty much from anywhere. There's a lot of comprehensive breakdowns that are going on. Crowder did it, Tim Cass did it, Quartering did it, all the guys that left, Benny Johnson, everybody's got their own spin on it. What we're going to talk about today is how we could all see this coming and what we're going to do about it. Now we'll do a little bit of the talk about what happened in LA over the weekend. But outside of that, we're not going to what are we going to talk about the individual thing? People in LA are mad that Trump is cracking down on them. Right? That people in the way of life in the Golden State is under threat, meaning that the way the left has been running it for as long as they have been running it is under threat right now. So there's definitely a problem, and they're going to fight back for it. Next one, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So the right just can't help itself. The Catholic right cannot help itself. And it's a problem for Pope Leo because Pope Leo, I put in the title, pushes open borders, because that's what every idiot and moron will tell you. And he was pushing against security zones and all these other things. And you have Jack Posebic out there running around, dangling this out there. Don't get it twisted. Jack Posebic needs Pope Leo XIV to be Francis 2.0. His ratings and his book sales are desperate on it. And that's all that matters to Jack. You may think I'm being inflammatory here, but I really don't think Jack, I don't want to question his faith, but his motives in constantly questioning the Pope is a little nefarious, especially when we know what he is talking about. So I will break that down tonight. Simone Biles spars with Riley Gaines. What is the deal with that? What is the reasoning around that? Why did Riley Gaines come out of nowhere and just start attacking? Simone Biles come out of nowhere and start attacking Riley Gaines, and what's her reasoning? Her reasoning behind that. So it's very strange because for those of you that care, Simone is a Catholic, and B, a while back, she has been critical of men in women's sports. So all of a sudden, she's on board with them, which is a little weird and a little strange. And there's got to be a reason for her wanting to do such a thing. So we'll talk about that as well. And then finally, if you are interested, my ballerina review from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. that review is up. We're going to talk about the fact that we tried to pin the box office on that. I thought it was going to be 34 million. Came in way under that at 25. Not great performance for it. A lot of people are giving a lot of different reasons for that. Girl boss fatigue, bad marketing. Ana de Armas is not a draw. There's a lot of different reasons why people are assigning blame. I had no problems with Ballerina from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. So I was kind of disappointed in that. I think people are just a little I don't know, scared or just not wanting to waste the time. It's interesting. We'll talk about that as well. And of course, we'll talk about anything you guys bring up in our chat, our bar rats as they are assembling on this Monday of the second. No, this is the first full week of June, right? This is the first full week of June, I believe so. I know Ember Days are Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Yeah, so no, it's the second full week. But I know Ember Days start Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So if you're not aware, the Ember Days are coming. So yeah, it is what it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it here on RickCast. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, and we will go from there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. I got to get everything together. Obviously, we are going to get to our before stories non-sponsor sponsor, and that is tradflags.com. I use Tradflags symbol or their photograph or artistic retelling in the lead up to the show, so I will give them free advertising. Go to tradflags.com. If you like that photo, that is the Sacred Heart of Jesus flag. You can get monthly flags at tradflag.com. Check them out. They are not a sponsor of the show. Be great if they were. I'm not expecting it, but since I'm using their product to promote my show, I would like to give them the publicity. Go to tradflag.com. They've got all kinds of great stuff. Check them out. Tradflag.com. Great company. And great Catholic company too, if that's your thing. All right. So this weekend was a lot of riots in LA or spicy celebrations, as I saw somebody put in the chat, or anything of that nature. What happened was going to happen. May not seem like a correct statement from a lot of you, but you have to understand, we have been talking about the fact that there will be major clashes in the summer because in a lot of us, myself included, maybe I might have been the first to tell you. I don't know. I don't like to brag. I'm a humble man. I am very humble. But you could trace it back to Luigi Mangione and his actions against the health CEO and the split down the middle that you saw, even from Catholics, on how they were supposed to respond to something like that. And so it's interesting that it started back there. It gained momentum. We had more incidences, whether they were Tesla dealerships. Really, Tesla was like the spring warm up for it. And then now we have officially started the summer. We're getting into it now. Of course, this coincides with the fact that Donald Trump sent in ICE and federal agents into LA to round up illegals. And we knew whether it was going to be in California or whether it was going to be in New York or in Chicago or in Baltimore, any major leftist city, well, any city in America is a leftist city. Any of these cities we knew was going to eventually end up with who is actually or what is actually going on. And so it is something to be talked about because these people mass mobilized. They mass mobilized quickly. They have all kinds of what would you say? You could say signs. They have all kinds of things ready to go. And yeah, it's definitely something like that is not shocking. Guys, I understand you want me to do the Bill Jasper interview. I get it. I will watch it. Just I appreciate it. Thank you. Who's behind it? I'm sure Bill Jasper's gotten to the bottom of it. I was looking right now because Anna Paulina Luna was talking about something from Data Republicans. They've been tracking some of the funding on it as well. We all want to get down to the bottom of it. I get it. I absolutely get it. And because one of the things that we were looking at before was what happened in the summer. What happened in the summer of that time, back in 2020, to make this as effective as it was now. So it is what it is. Now, Bellator, you can say Lower Alabama. That doesn't bother me. I'm from Texas. So I'm from Texas, so you can call it whatever you want. We knew the protests were coming. We knew the violence was going to come back. We knew all of that. We also knew, and I will say, I do give Elon a lot of flack on X because I don't think the platform is as free as a lot of people say that it is. The conservatives always have to couch their statements about Elon by saying, "Oh, I'm so thankful that he saved us from blah, blah, blah," whatever. And then they have to criticize him. Elon, Twitter is a crap platform. It's terrible. It's not a very good platform, and you charge way too much money for it. But the fact is that without his platform right now, we would not be able to push back against the narrative that is being formed by the left and by the politicians and all these others, like so.
Of protesters and demonstrators are peaceful. They're passionate. When you come into a community like Los Angeles, the way that the Trump administration has, you need to expect to be countered with people who are passionate about defending fundamental rights, about standing up for due process.
I guess this is standing up for due process. This is a peaceful protest, according to those on the left. Okay, these images right here, I think, are going to spectacularly backfire against the left this time around, because people voted for Trump for one thing. They voted for Trump to deport. That was the deportation and immigration was a huge thing that people rallied behind Trump when they elected him in this last election. But the left's still thinking that it's 2020, 2021. They still continue to act as if the internet doesn't exist.
That is their constitutional right. The vast majority of protesters have been peaceful. There are always a few bad actors. And yes, we think anybody who commits property damage ought to be arrested and they ought to be prosecuted. But to send in federal troops or Marines when there isn't a war atmosphere or war circumstance going on is just, it's beyond the pale. I mean, it's authoritarian flexing. It's not making anybody safer. Local law enforcement has said they can handle the protests. It's no different than when a team wins a national championship and people get overexcited and they overturn vehicles and light them on fire. Local law enforcement is prepared to handle those types of situations.
The problem is that the Mayor Bass, who is not in Africa right now. She was in Africa when the fires are happening, but we could actually use her in Africa right now so people could do things. She came out and pretty much told law enforcement to stand down. Don't do anything. Local law enforcement. Essentially give them space to destroy. If we remember the Baltimore mayor doing that type of statement. And then all you got to do is just look down on X and you can find stuff like this.
The governor was quite, so you're seeing.
Don't worry, this is peaceful, folks. Just like if your team won a championship.
This is live. Yeah, you're seeing not great conduct. And I wonder where the police are there.
Police aren't there because they've been told to stay away. The police aren't there because they were told, do not engage. Let them do what they have to do. And if something was to take place, if somebody was going to get involved, then they absolutely would. So it is very interesting in that regard that they still act as if this doesn't exist.
But you're seeing the deployment of a military asset that's not aligned with state and locals, and we certainly know from the LA riots that was not very organized. So you are seeing. You're seeing now this car is leaving, but it's on everyone's video. So I think what's happening is you're getting people against the protesters now coming using vehicles to try to.
The left is doing everything they can to try and run cover for them because they are aligned with the values of the left. We all know that. That's not a shock. I'm not breaking any news there. The real thing that needs to be discussed here, and that's really what we're going to talk about, that's just the common fact that we have these demonstrations, these spicy celebrations, these riots, and yet we knew it was coming. So this is from Newsweek, and I really just want to take a couple seconds to talk about this. The fact that Newsweek brought this up. The scholar who predicted America's breakdown says it's just the beginning. And I think we all knew that with Trump's election, that this election, if Trump was elected, that you are going to see more of this kind of stuff, that this type of reaction is going to take place because the way of life that the left has cemented, it has cemented in place this lifestyle of welfare, of bringing in people who do not align with your cultural values. And I do feel bad for second, third generation Mexicans, especially Texas Mexicans, who have been here since the Texas Revolution, who fought at the Alamo, right? There are Mexicans that can trace their heritage, Texan Mexicans, really Tex-Mex, who can trace their lineage all the way back to the founding of Texas as an independent state, who love these United States. By the way, the biggest group that supports Trump right now, even still 63% is Hispanic males. So everybody's like, oh, these Mexicans, they want to, we're talking about California ones. We're talking about those who disregard the heritage that they've been given. And that is, people have been leaving California because California's policies have been getting worse and worse and worse. And they continue to be more authoritarian and more authoritarian. And so what they do is they bring in immigration and immigrants to bump up their numbers so they don't lose congressional seats. It's all about congressional seats in the election and all these other kinds of things. And outside of that, now you're seeing these people who were in places like California, Chicago, New York, these major Democratic cities, who have been given access to pretty much free services as long as they and their children, and in some cases even their grandchildren, have been around. They've been given access to all these things without any kind of idea or stake in this union of states. They had no stake in the future of California, so why would they care if it falls apart? Most of them came from less than ideal circumstances. So why would they care if California, once the crown jewel, you could say California used to be the crown jewel of these United States, probably in the 50s. And now it is indistinguishable in many places from a third world nation. And when you talk about places like South Africa, or even like India, or those places, there's always the discrepancy between the wealthy and the poor. And LA has been, and California has been running homeless shelters and homeless programs for years, yet their homeless population continues to explode because there's bureaucracy and things get taken advantage of. And so we have the beginning of this. There's going to be more protests next weekend in different cities. They are going to marshal. We were all talking about before this spicy season began that it was going to be we were wondering which issue was it going to be. The Palestine issue? Was it going to be Luigi Mangione? Was it going to be Carmelo Anthony? What issue was the entire apparatus of the left establishment, the leftist, the radical left, if you want to call them that? What were they going to rally around? I guess immigration's the easiest one to do, right? The easiest one to do. So now we have it. Now we have what they're doing. And this scholar predicts, and you and I agree with him because we know it is just the beginning. So we're going to read a couple paragraphs. We're not going to get too deep into it, but we want to establish this now before we get into spicy season, spicy summer, and understand, hey, man, this is going to get worse. And not to try and scare people, but to prepare people. I hope you are ready for what is about to take place in the next 3 months. 15 years ago, smack in the middle of Barack Obama's first term, amid the rapid rise of social media and a slow recovery from the Great Recession, which we've never really recovered from, a professor at the University of Connecticut, UConn, terrible institution, but anyway, instituted a stark warning: the United States was heading into a decade of growing political instability. It sounded somewhat contrarian at the time. The global economy is clawing back. The American political order seemed to anchor in post-Cold War optimism, though cracks were beginning to emerge, as evidenced by the Tea Party uprising. I don't think that's evidence. That's just, that happens in political movements, right? They didn't note here Occupy Wall Street, right? Wouldn't Occupy Wall Street be another crack or another fission, a division? So they're just picking and choosing. But Peter Turchin, an ecologist turned historian, because most of the ecologists I know are historians, had the data. Quantitative historical analysis revealed that complex human societies are affected by recurrent and predictable waves of political instability. Turchin wrote in his journal Nature, forecasting a spike in unrest around 2020, driven by economic inequality and elite overproduction and rising public debt. Now, with the nation consumed by polarization in the early months of a second Donald Trump presidency, institutional mistrust at an all-time high, and deepening political conflict, Turchin's prediction appears to have landed with uncanny accuracy. So we see this. In the wake of these escalating protests and the deployment of National Guard troops to LA, under President Trump's immigration crackdown, Turchin spoke about all of these things, and I'm not going to give you, we're not going to read all of this. Just understand that this road has been paved for a while. It's been paved for a while, and I don't know why anybody thought there was any kind of off-ramp, because the left was absolutely intent on ensuring that Donald Trump didn't get reelected. They were intent, while Donald Trump was out of office, to attack him with lawfare and anybody resembling that. Of course, the left-leaning press did not address this. They thought it was fine, but they continued to attack and go after the enemies of this social order that they were trying to create in 2020. And now we're seeing this order that's been festering since probably in way before Barack Obama, but it was kicked into high gear with Barack Obama in 2008. Most people can agree that things got a little rough post the first Barry Obama term, and it only continued to get worse, and it only continued to polarize, and it only continued to divide, and the left took advantage of this, and they continued to racially charge and use sexual liberation as another charge, and all these other things to continue to push and divide the people of this union. And so it doesn't shock me that the riots or the spicy celebrations or whatever you want to call them took place in LA. And it does not shock me that we're going to have more of them. So I hope you're ready for it coming. For me, I think I'm all right, because the closest major city to me is over an hour away in Austin. Then there's Houston and Dallas, which could technically be bad places, but both of those are far enough away that I don't really worry about what their technically going to do in the next couple weeks. Plus, I don't know if Greg Abbott and especially Ken Paxton will do in this regard. You know, Ken Paxton is running for Senate, so if they try anything here, he may try to put a crackdown in to help with his Senate chances. But I don't know what else to report on the fact except this will further encase both camps. The left thinking that Trump is a fascist, and the right and the people that voted for Trump, who were kind of starting to float away, are going to be reinforced with this idea of, hey, we need to get rid of these illegal immigrants. And if they're fighting this hard to stay here, and if they're flying the flag of another country here, if they're doing all of these things and they're making all of this noise, then they got to go. So we'll see how this goes with the next couple protests. And to be honest, I don't know how you restore order to Los Angeles without 10,000 men. They're talking about activating 700 Marines to assist the 2,000 National Guard. I don't think that's going to get the job done. I think you're going to need 10,000 men to occupy the city of Los Angeles and then round up the illegal. If that's what Trump wants to do, right? If Trump wants, because the Rubicon's been crossed. This weekend, the Rubicon was crossed. The left made it known that they are going to do everything they can to impede the will or the directives of the president who won the popular vote, and he won the Electoral College. He has the will of the people on his side, and that will is going to be objected to and pushed back by the left and the people in California and the entire establishment in California. The Rubicon is crossed there. The sides are set. So what is going to happen and who is going to make the aggressive move? Now, is Trump going to be worried? Is Trump going to be worried that any move that he does will be criticized? Is Trump going to be concerned with what the media says about him at this point? I think that's a valid question, because in the past, Trump has been very concerned, and he acts because he wants the left to like him. He wants the left-leaning press to like him. So we'll see if that works or not. All right, so that's our first one. Yeah, we can dig into it. Everybody's got an opinion on it. All I know is the Rubicon's crossed on that. We are going to see more of this, and it'll be incumbent on the president. I'm thinking about, they're baiting him into being a strong man. They're baiting him into being a strong man. Will he respond in kind? I don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. But we'll see. And see, I don't know if he loses hard in 2026 if he takes the National Guard and goes in and it reestablishes order. Most of the country is seeing lawlessness right now. And I hate to say this, human nature will dictate that people will react positively to their strongman than to weakness overall. People were mad. People are still mad Trump didn't do anything in 2020. People really thought that Trump could have done stuff in 2020 to quell the riots, that he could have activated the National Guard sooner to end what was happening there. People will still bring that up. So I don't know if he loses hard if he activates the National Guard. Well, he already has. And if he really puts the hammer down in LA to reestablish order. I think people are sick of seeing people act without consequence. The people who follow the rules, and this is just an observation, let me know if you think I'm wrong in the comment section down below. People who follow the rules are getting sick of watching those that don't follow the rules go without consequence. And there's only so much and so many times people can be pushed on that before they just absolutely kick back on it. That's my opinion, Bellator. I believe that's what I believe. I could be wrong. It doesn't happen often, but I could be. So it is what it is on that. Right. I mean, you see pictures of these people destroying their own cities so they can get concrete pieces so they can throw at law enforcement officers. Now, I'm not like Mr. Thin Blue Line guy. I'm not Mr. Thin Blue Line guy at all. But I understand that in order for a successful society to be maintained, law and order must be at least respected. You can't have a functioning society without law and order. I have to agree with you there, Dean. I said you guys send in 10,000 men to literally occupy the city of Los Angeles to send a message. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if Trump does nothing, I'll say this. I think it's worse for Trump if he loses this face-off. This is the face-off right here. This is the face-off. If he loses this and he backs out of LA, it's the first couple months of his presidency. He might as well pack it up and just hang out at Mar-a-Lago for the rest of his term. This is how much is riding on the line politically. The left is challenging him to do something about it. And if he does nothing, then he might as well just pack it in. I mean, you could excuse 2020 because he was running for a re-election and he didn't want to look like a straw man and he didn't want to But now who knows? We'll see. All right, RickCast, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Let's get to our second story. Oh boy. I'm going to make some people mad tonight, so buckle in. Catholic right, what are you doing? Jack Posebic, what are you doing? Do you guys even like being Catholic? That's my question. And if you've watched this program long enough, you know that I have no problem going after Catholics who go after the Holy Father when it's not appropriate. I know it's not appropriate. I sound like such a teacher. When it's not justified. And boy, oh boy, you better watch out who you follow on X, because the X was filled with anti-Catholic bigotry because people couldn't take 5 seconds to read past the headline. Pope calls for open borders, right? Here we go. It's from, and I don't expect the Guardian to be some bastion of pro-Catholic statements. I don't expect it at all. I expect them to be as anti-Catholic as any others. But this idea, Pope Leo criticizes exclusionary mindset of nationalist political movements. During his mass at St. Peter's Square, the Pope asked that God open borders and break down walls. Well, yes and no. Luckily, your boy at Rick, I can't believe I just said that, your guy, Rick, here at RickCast, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, has Pope Leo's statement. Because unlike most people, Jack Posebic, I actually read what the Holy Father said before having a conniption fit and ripping my hair out and stomping around like a little 2-year-old girl. So, Pope Francis says, the Spirit opens borders, first of all, in our hearts. That doesn't sound like open borders. The Pope is saying the Spirit opens the borders in our hearts. He is a gift that opens our lives to love. His presence breaks down hardness of heart, our narrowness of mind, selfishness. Anywhere in this statement does he say all immigrant lives? All immigrant lives, let them all in. Nowhere does he say it. So forget you, Jack Posebic. Forget you, anybody that says the Pope called for open borders, because he didn't. He used, now maybe Pope Leo shouldn't have used the term borders, because some people will get up there and be like, this is code. This is secret code for open borders. You guys don't know what I know. This is the Pope signaling to the globalist order. Get out of here. So that's the first one. There's 2 more. The second one, the Spirit also opens borders in our relationships with others. Our Lord and Savior tells us that this gift of love between him and the Father that comes to dwell within us when we become capable of opening our hearts to our brothers and sisters, overcoming rigidity, moving beyond the fear of those who are different, and mastering the passions that stir within. Where is this? Any of this in this headline? Pope Leo criticizes exclusionary mindset of national politics, calls for open borders. I just showed you the first two parts of his statement. And then finally, I think it's the final one. And then he even says, finally, the Spirit also opens borders between people. At Pentecost, the apostles spoke in languages of those they met, and confusion of Babel was finally resolved. Whenever God breathes, unites our hearts and makes us view others as our brothers and sisters, differences no longer become occasions for division and conflict, but a shared patriarchy. I'm an idiot. Patriarchy, I'll just say, from which we can all draw. And then he says it breaks down barriers and tears down the walls of indifference and hatred. Where is the open borders? Where is the open borders statement? Where is any of it? It doesn't exist because that's not what he said. I know some of you want to follow Jack here. Pope Leo, there's no room for prejudice and security zones separating us from our neighbors, for the exclusionary mindset that tragically now we see emerge also in political nationalism. Where we see that, Holmes? Where is it? I don't see it. And when he talks about exclusionary zones, you know what he's talking about? He's talking about the fact that places like Israel is going in and destroying the lives of innocent people in Gaza. I know, I'm not. Remember, when I say that, just remember the meme. Israel or Palestine, Rome. Just remember that every time I say stuff like this. But he's talking about it. Oh, but don't you worry. Guardian, other people, like me and 4 other people yesterday spent the entire Sunday just saying, did you read this? Did you read it? Did you go past the headlines? Of course, nobody answered because they are so determined. And this is the problem. They are slaves to the algorithm. They are slaves to the algorithm. You know what the algorithm tells them? They must hate or must always criticize the Holy Father. I won't say hate because I think that's too far of a phrase, but they always must criticize the Holy Father. They must be the defenders of the faith, and the Holy Father must always be wrong no matter what he does. Some people have been so broken. They were so broken by Francis. So broken. That's right. Bias confirmation. And slaves to their livelihoods. The checks the views don't come in on happy stories. You know, the views don't come in when people are saying how happy they are about the Pope. Remember that deep dive about Pope Leo XIV and the Chinese being in bed together? Wow, that disappeared real quick, didn't it? It's because it's a shame. I'll give you that one. That is funny. He is from Chicago, so. But I have it on sources from a man I would consider a brother that he is Peruvian. So if he's Peruvian, he should be fine. But there is so much joy. And I will admit it, I have to ask myself sometimes, is this how people felt with Pope John Paul II? Right? Is this how, because he was just beloved. And I think that's one thing people in the Vatican are a little upset with too, is that Pope Francis never got to this level of acclaim. He never did. I would argue that Pope Leo XIV is more popular than Francis ever had been. And I think that makes people very upset. And this idea that we have to cut him down every single time. If you want the copy of the speech, I'll send it to you. Send me a message on Instagram. Send me a message on X at Stradcath if you're watching there. I'll send it to you. Send me an email, bearerbrief@gmail.com. If you think I'm full of it, I will send you Pope Leo's his homily. I will send it to you. If you find something different, I will come on here. I will say your name and I will praise. I will say you were right. I was wrong on that. I don't think I'm wrong. You're right. Well, gee, you're right. Especially, 12 years of doing it. That's how long Francis's pontificate was. It was 12 years of constant just being berated and having to just deal with these things left and right. And so I think it's just natural habits. And I feel bad when I say these things. I'm saying it out of charity. I want Jack to stop attacking the Pope. I want the Guardian to stop attacking the Pope. I want them to. If he does something wrong, then yes, we should obviously correct it. But you guys are looking for needles in haystacks to try and prove your position. Oh, well, we have to wait. Well, I mean, Mark, that's what a lot of people are waiting, I think, until the end of August, because that's when he will be done filling out all the major positions. I know LifeSite News has said, the people he puts in place is going to be reflective of his policies. And that could be true and that could not be. But, you know what I mean? You have all of these things. You have all of these people and the fact of the matter that Kev Posibic, who this dude's only claim to fame is being his brother. He's the brother of Jack Posibic. That's his claim to fame. So he's gonna trash the Pope now. He's gonna go after the Pope now. And I understand. I think I already highlighted your comment, but I'll highlight again. I understand. We are cautious because a lot of us it was and especially I get it, especially with what happened in Charlotte. As quickly as it did, it kind of confirmed a lot of people's fears, and it's sad to say, but in the end, we have to be especially filled with, in this spirit of Pentecost, faith, hope, and charity. We're supposed to be the Catholics are supposed to be the people of faith, hope, and charity. I don't know why we're so quick to turn on it. I get it; it's human nature. I fall into that as well. Let me just say that. I fall into negativity. I fall into despair a lot. I do. I know it doesn't seem like it because I'm just so happy and free all the time, but I fall into it. I'm not above anybody in this. And I may be too enthusiastically defending the Pope, although I'd rather be on that side than be on the side that criticizes him for too much. That's the position I've decided to take. So the fact that these guys have to just constantly, and the thing is, I expect the Guardian to do this. I expect all these people to do this because they don't like, the legacy media doesn't like Catholics. They don't like Christianity. They don't like the truth. They're going to attack it. They're going to try and divide us. It's the Catholic reporters. It's the Catholic participators that really get me every single time. They just fall for it every single time. And it just goes, I just think, how can they do this, man? How can they fall into this so quickly? So what it is, yeah, we're faithful sons and daughters of the church and are feeling weary from previous pontificate abuse, cautiously hopeful. I would say we need to remove the cautiously. You and me. When I say that, I'm not saying you need to. I do too. We all have to remove the cautiously, and we just need to be hopeful. Let me just say this. I think when we all do it, myself included, I'm trying to say that when we use that term cautiously, I think that's a tool the enemy uses to keep us from really putting our trust in God. And like I said, I fall into it all the time. You know what I mean? I'm just saying I fall into it all the time, but I think the enemy uses that little bit of doubt to keep us from fully being joyful. So we'll see. But like I said, I will always I will defend the Pope as against unreasonable charges. Now, if it's plain as day, I will be the first to say, listen, man, he messed up. Like I have when he appointed that terrible person to the Pontific Life Academy. Awful selection. Terrible selection. But he wants to be a unity. He wants to unify the church. So you're going to have to understand he's not going to be uber conservative. He's going to try and make overtures to both sides to try and bring back as many to the faith as possible. He's walking as tight of a rope as you can have. So that's that. All right, folks. I want to take a couple seconds here, talk about my buddy Dean. Dean is a good friend. I would actually say brother of mine. I wouldn't say friend. I'd say brother of mine. And speaking about being hopeful and joyful, he is a guy who's been dealt a pretty tough hand. And we need to rally around him as much as we can with prayers. And if we have the ability to, we should be able to try and donate to Dean in an effort to help offset some of his bills, because he's, we all think we've had it pretty tough, and I don't know your individual situation, but I'm just as like, oh man, things are really tough. Dean's been dealt a hell of a hand. He has, and he attacks it with as much with the grace that I don't think most of us, I'll say myself, I wouldn't have the grace to approach it that he does. So if you can, please use the GoFundMe link. I'm about to drop it in the chats and help out brother Dean if you can. I understand things are tight right now. Money is tight right now for everybody. It is tough, but if you have the ability to, please help brother Dean out. And at least if you can help him out with any kind of financial contributions, please lift him up in prayer as much as possible. All right, let's get to our next story of the night. Weird story, really strange story. Simone Biles, the Texas Catholic, and some say the best gymnast of all time, came out swinging to Riley Gaines on social media over Troons. And it's just weird that she did it, because like Simone Biles has been on record saying that she would never win a gold medal if boys competed against her. She's 4'8", 4'9". She does not have the physical capabilities to go up against somebody my size. I'm a huge 5'6". I am the emperor of the short kings, but still, I am not a very tall man. And I would, if I was in decent shape and a gymnast, I would destroy her. And now she's coming out on the side of the Troons. And this happened this weekend because Riley Gaines, who's been a champion for removing men out of women's sports, which I think is a very good cause, right? That seems pretty self-explanatory. Ever since she tied Will, whatever his name is, William Thomas. I'm not calling him by his other name. Well, ever since Riley Gaines tied Will Thomas, she's been a crusader against getting men out of women's sports. And I think men should not be in women's sports. I think it's absolutely gross and disgusting that men are allowed to, especially men that don't change or don't do any kind of surgery. And they're walking into women's bathroom or women's changing rooms with all their gear, pretending they're a lady. And it's like, no, you're not a lady. You are a dude. Well, she's a guy kind of thing. And so you have Simone Biles from Texas, a Catholic, going after and attacking Riley Gaines, which is just strange. Nobody saw this coming. They're both female athletes. And it's weird to see the group of black women or white women in these liberal positions, usually upper class, wealthy, liberal white women or liberal black women, well, just black women in general, most of the time, defending unnatural things, defending the unnatural order, meaning transgenderism, women and men in women's sports, all that kind of this month that they supposedly think is dedicated to one of the seven deadly sins. And it's really fine, right? It's crazy. So Riley Gaines was criticized. She criticized Minnesota High School League for removing comments about Chaplin Park girls team celebrating their state championship. Yeah, because the Chaplin Park girls team essentially had Randy Johnson playing for them. They had a dude who, the ugliest looking woman we've ever seen because he's a guy, throwing 95-mile-an-hour softball pitches. These girls have no chance. It's like me taking a swing against Randy Johnson. It ain't happening. And Riley Gaines like, this is ridiculous. And then Simone Biles responded, urging her to bully someone her own size, which is weird because Riley Gaines is actually average size for a woman, which is 5'5", unlike my tiny little self at 5'6". So, and it's crazy because Simone Biles has been on record saying, oh, I used to get bullied because I have muscles and because I was an athlete and all these other, and now she's like, Riley Gaines, you're an ugly woman because you have muscles. It's, Simone is big with Nike. Simone is also aging out of the Olympic spotlight, as Mark is saying correctly, aging out of the Olympic spotlight. And so there is a lot of reason for her to begin to make these statements and be an ally and to do all these other things and to say that Gaines was using transphobic comments and suggested improvements for inclusivity in sports. And so how do we go from there in that regard? How do we square this? I don't know if we can, simply because it's nuts. It's absolutely insane that a lot of people consider her the greatest gymnast of all time. I can't because she quit on her teammates. I don't care about mental health or any of these kind of things. If you want to say women can do anything men can do, then, if you're having a bad day, power through it and, support your team. Don't quit on them. But there is one of those things that is just my point. Gaines asserted that it's not a woman's responsibility to include men in women's sports. And that's pretty much it. And so we'll see how it's going. We have somebody on Instagram saying the narrative is fluid depending on the cause. Yeah, it is. It always switches. We don't count on the left to actually have any principles and stand by anything they actually say. So that is a decent point there. But this was just interesting because Simone Biles got dragged. She got dragged, fair enough, all over X this weekend for making such ridiculously stupid comments. All right. Last story of the day. We do some box office news because we do. If you're interested at RickCast Reviews, I've done my review for the Ballerina movie. I saw it today. Thought it was fine. Give it my system's simple, man. I don't have it. Pass, fail. Ballerina passes. It's a strong recommend on my part if you have the time. If you like the John Wick series, you'll enjoy the Ballerina film. That's how I think. A lot of people said, oh, well, it's John Wick light. It's not John Wick. You know what? It's not supposed to be John Wick. It's supposed to expand that universe that John Wick created, and it does a good job of expanding said universe. So I'm good with that. I'm happy with it. You and I, when we talked on Friday, talked about the box office previews, the tracking on it. And it said, listen, it's probably going to make somewhere between $32 to $35 million. Unfortunately, it did not do as well as we had hoped. If it made 35 million, it actually probably would have come in number one, but instead it made 25, coming in second place to Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch with another 32 million at 772. This is its third week in the actual movie theaters. It's made $772 million globally, which means it's going to get probably 1.2 billion. What was the drop on there? A 47% drop from week to week. First week it opened. Second week was a 57% drop. Now we have a 47% drop. If it stays at around 47, 40, 47, 45, 40, this thing will cross a billion probably by the end of June in the next 3 weeks. If it keeps making this kind of money. It's already at 335 domestically. So it's pretty impressive. It's impressive, but it's expected. This was the one movie that everybody thought Disney was just going to absolutely blow the doors off because it's one of the few properties that is still beloved at Disney. The Stitch merchandise itself is the easiest moneymaker. I think that is one of the few. It's its own vertical. If you know anything about economics, the Stitch merchandising is its own vertical. They got cups, salt and pepper shakers, dolls, toys, keychains, everything. It's nuts. It's nuts. The thing is, Stitch is like a dog that talks. And that's why all the women love Stitch. It's like a dog that talks. So that's why they love him. And I get it. And that's fine. It's good. So that thing, it'll probably make 25 million in its next frame next week, which would be fantastic for it. Unfortunately, John Wick only made 25 million in its opening frame. Total 51 million globally. First of all, the merchandising. The kids love this one. Lilo and Stitch, the flamethrower. It really is. If Disney could get away with Lilo and Stitch, the flamethrower, they would. I'd just be real about it. But for John Wick, first of all, the title is the worst thing ever. Now I understand that no, Stitch is not a dog, but for all the women that love Lilo and Stitch, it's like having a dog that talks. That's why they think it's adorable. That's what I'm saying, Lou. It's not a dog that talks. He's an alien, but he looks and acts like a dog on Earth. So that's why they love him. You cannot title a movie, and they did this with the Harley Quinn movie, with like the Ballad of when people do not have the attention span for long movies or long movie titles. And so when you have From the World of John Wick Ballerina, what does that tell us? Now, I get it because they're trying to expand out the John Wick universe because the fourth one, he's either dead or he's not, but he's not around. And they have this problem that people love the John Wick films and the Continental series was not very good. So they're trying to put some pillars around the John Wick movies to keep the franchise going. I'm never adverse to expanding universes as long as they're expanded correctly. Most people are against expanded universes because, Disney and Star Wars were terrible at it and everybody else just doesn't want to deal with it. So we have that. And this movie does the job of expanding out the universe. Is Ana de Armas's character Eve John Wick? No. Is she supposed to be? No. I'm going to spoil something for you if you want to go see it. John Wick shows up in the film. You've seen it in the trailer, so that's not a huge thing. Guess what? If you were worried that John Wick was going to lose to Ana de Armas's character, she doesn't. In fact, he pretty much rolls her when they try to jujitsu. Like, they fight and he just wins. He just wins, which is great because that reinforces the Baba Yaga mythology within the John Wick universe. And so it was good. I'm like, okay, that's good. But she has a place. By the way, Keanu has said his knees are shot. He can't do any more of these movies, or he can't run an entire movie like he used to. He can do cameos. He can't do entire films. So if they want to expand this out, and I think this world is primed, this universe, whatever you want to call it, is primed to be expanded out. I think it's ripe for it. And I think this movie was done well. I kind of agree with Bellator here. I think the Kane movie coming out first would have been better to try and expand out the universe because more people knew who Kane was. Kane is awesome because he's a blind hitman. I love the fact that he doesn't even have sights on his gun. It's awesome. The Kane movie should have come out first. Then you could have launched this. I don't know why. Of course, this movie's been in development for 2+ years. Because there are rumors that it had to be shot twice, even though they say the budget's $90 million. But the fact is, it has a solid A- rating. Most people, myself included, enjoyed watching it. If you like the John Wick films, you'll enjoy this film. The choreography is within the John Wick universe. The style, it's stylized. The colors, everything matches. And this movie, it's 1, 2, 3, then this ballerina movie, then the fourth one. But it's left open in such a way that they're going to they're going to want to do an additional ballerina movie to fill out the timeline, which, once again, I think they should do the Kane movie. They should fast track that Kane movie, because that's the movie we all want to see. We all want to see the Kane movie. We all do. That movie looks that would be incredible. And I think that would be the boost the franchise needs. But it came in at 25 million. We'll see if the positive word of mouth really, if it can hold at, where does it rank on my list? That's a good question. Obviously, John Wick, the first one, is number 1. I'd have to say John Wick 1, Chapter 3, Chapter 2. Actually, John Wick, Chapter 4, Chapter 3, Chapter 2. Then this is the least of the ballerina films that I mean, it's the lowest ranking one. But I'm going to give it a pass on that, Bellator, for this reason. The reason why I don't hold it against the fact that it's the lowest ranking in this universe right now is it's because it's the first non-John Wick film, non-lead John Wick film. So they were trying to do other things with it. I still like the movie. I'll buy it when it comes out on digital. So, and I'll watch it when I do my John Wick marathons. I'll be happy to slide that film right into where it's supposed to be, because I think it's a really solid addition. It's a solid pillar that will keep the franchise going. I think it would. Right now, it's the 5th best one, but that's because the other choices are all John Wick films. And I think all the John Wick films do a little bit things a little bit better than this. I'll give you an example. Even the first John Wick, it took about, they spun that up real quick. The first John Wick was a very tight story. Bang, 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 bang through. This film, because it's an expanded universe, I'll use that. It's an expanded universe film. So they suffer from the one thing in these expanded universe films, and that's the first like 10 to 15 minutes. You got to catch everybody up like a normie who hasn't seen any of the John Wick films. Like if you see John Wick 3, you know what happened in John Wick 1 and 2. For a ballerina film, you got to catch everybody up. Okay, this is the John Wick universe. Any of these extended universe movies, they kind of have to catch you up until they become a well-known franchise. So the John Wick films, they get right to the point. The plots are pretty thick. Boop, 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 boop. This one, the plot was a little slow in the beginning because they had to sacrifice that time to get everybody up to speed. But once the film kicks off and once they start going, it flies pretty well. I think the gunplay and the action scenes, I know the Critical Drinker was critical of Ana de Armas and her stunt work. I think her stunt work was well done. Her gunplay was fine. Yeah, there was some really unbelievable stuff, but the John Wick franchise has gotten to the point where it's not, the first one had gritty realism. Now everybody's essentially a superhero. You know, that's fine. I don't go to these movies for realism. I go to see, you know, fantastical action scenes, and you get 2 of those at least in this film. You get 2 major set piece films or 2 major set piece fights that you're going to enjoy. So there's one problem I will say with this film. And let me see if I can find it. It's very early on. This lady, I know you can call me a racist. Get my racist alarm up. That's my alarm for everything. Misogyny, racism, everything. This lady almost took me out of the entire film. I don't care that she's black. I don't even care that she's a part of the Ruscaroma tribe, right? They bring in other people. They bring in people from all over the place. Fine. I get it. Cool. This lady tried to pull off a Russian accent, and I almost dropped out of my seat. And the fact of the matter is, you don't have to do it, man. You don't have to do it. The percentage of black people in Russia is 0.03%. I will say it again. The percentage of black people in Russia is 0.03%. And her accent was terrible. Her accent didn't sound like this. You could be the next fighter. It's like, come on, just be a black lady that's in the tribe because they found you in New York when you were a kid. That's all you got to do. And I'm like, you know what? I'm good with it. That's fine. They bring in assassins from all over the place. Fine. Great. When and I'm sorry, because the lady's trying. And this is bad direction and bad script writing. Like I said, I would have no problem with her as a character if she just spoke English and was the trainer. Totally good. Got it. But when she tries to pull off the accent, I'm going, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be nuts. This accent is terrible. This is like open night at the theater accent stuff here. She's trying to, it sounded like she's auditioning for Wakanda Forever. That's how bad this accent is. All right, that's the huge thing. I actually didn't mind who did it, her performance. It's just her accent was terrible, and the fact they had to make her Russian. She didn't have to be Russian. I actually don't have a problem with the character. She just didn't have to be Russian. Les Wiseman. If you know the Underworld series with Kate Beckinsale. If you know the Underworld series with Kate Beckinsale, he's the guy who directed those films. He directed this one. Although there are rumors that the back half of the movie was directed by Chad Stahelski because the scenes and the choreography were really bad, like really, really bad. But we'll see how, and I don't care about the rest of these. Mission Impossible is dead in the water. Right? No, let's see. How did Mission Impossible do? 15 million. It's at 148 global. What's the total? Do we have a total? I don't have a total on this. Just 148 domestic. Oh, no. Am I retarded? Is anybody else able to read this? No. Okay. So it made 147 domestically. I think it's at like one. No, we're not gonna. Box Office Pro doesn't care about Mission Impossible anymore. So why should any of us? So it's kind of crazy that Mission Impossible is not going to make the money it needs to make. It's already pretty much dead. So yeah, we knew it wasn't going to make its money back. I just kind of wanted to see where it was going to end up at this point. Yeah, no, they do not care. So I guess I don't. I think it's topped out at like 450 right now. I think it's at 450, which means it's not good. It's the run is pretty much over. So that's it for them. And then Karate Kid, if you were really interested in it, that movie already dropped out of the top 4. That movie's going to barely make it to its 3rd week. So kind of disappointing for them, but what are you going to do? We'll see how it goes. We'll see, especially for Ballerina, what its next week's hold is going to tell us a lot of stuff. All right, that's it for this episode of RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Hello to our friends on Instagram, our newest friends on Instagram, joining our friends on Rumble and on Getter and on X and on YouTube. My bar rats on YouTube. You guys always crush it every single night, and I appreciate it. So we will see you guys tomorrow night here on RickCast, where we're going to talk about more fantastical things. And yes, not a remake, sequel. It's another sequel reboot thing. It wasn't a remake, it was a sequel. Not a very well received sequel, but a sequel nevertheless. All right, I will talk to you all tomorrow. God bless. And until that day comes, ladies and gentlemen, remember, free Dexter Taylor.